Okay, Tom, we're gonna start. Thank you for introducing me. Well, welcome to our presentation on transit today. And closer to the microphone,
Coming in.
over here, both microphones. Okay, thank you for coming for our presentation on transit today. And before we begin, just to let you know, after the presentation, we will open up for questions and answers. And what we're going to do is take a question from the audience, and then we're going to switch off and take a question for those who are virtual. So we'll go back and forth to make sure everybody has an opportunity to present their questions, ask their questions. And so today we're lucky to have with us Jamie McKay, who's the Deputy Director of the Frederick County Transit. She has numerous accolades that are recognized in transit, from Transit Magazine to a couple of organizations. And in 2022, being recognized by the Frederick County Commission of Women of the Year.
Thank you.
So we're very lucky to have her. And she also loves biking, trains, is mom to a one-eyed cat, right? And once you hear the presentation, you'll see why we are very lucky to have you in Frederick.
Thank you.
And hopefully not much pressure, no, right? So I'll turn it over to Jamie.
Let's go ahead and we'll start sharing the screen. Can folks in the back hear me? All right, microphone is good. Thank you very much. Ooh, yeah, now it's really loud. This is awesome. You know, you never get used to the sound of your own voice. I promise you that. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jamie McKay. Thank you for that lovely introduction. I am the Deputy Director of Transit Services of Frederick County. It does seem the microphone is going to be a bit particular. I will go next to both, and I will anticipate that there will be no feedback, but please let me know if there is any sort of microphone intermission, okay? All right, so I'm here to tell you a little bit about who transit is and what we do, and any of the service questions that you might have. Am I doing this right? They are quite bad. I will do my very best, but if you would like to join me a little closer to the front, I don't mind at all. I don't bite. All right, and I imagine you're going to turn the slides for me. Fantastic. Unless you have a clicker and I can do it, it's up to you. Yeah, let's go ahead. Yeah, come on up. It's nice to see your friendly faces. I know this mic is going to be funny, but we're going to make it work. As with everything, we adapt and overcome. All right, so the next slide, please. All right. That's okay. I can entertain as need be. All right. Wonderful. So first and foremost, welcome aboard, everyone. This is a picture of one of our all-electric buses, and we have one of the largest fleets in Maryland. Did you know that? So let's go to the next slide. It is really going to be sassy, isn't it? Again, we will roll with it. So who is transit? Transit Services of Frederick County is full of dedicated public servants, especially this week as we recognize and honor all of our staff during Transit Worker Appreciation Week. So we've been doing lots of outreach and lots of engagement to share what's so special about our transit team. We are social workers. Our staff are trained in first aid and CPR. Our staff are trained, I'm doing the best I can with the microphone. Our staff are heavy equipment operators that travel throughout the county in large vehicles, which in itself is a skill. We are first responders. Our team is trained in CPR. They are trained in first aid, and many of them go above and beyond and are either ex-military, ex-law enforcement, or are EMTs and EMS technicians. We are engaged community members. Whether it's me out here talking to you this evening, or whether it's any of our team riding on board the buses, providing guidance to passengers who are uncertain about how to travel on the system, or wherever you find us, we are engaged community members. And something that's really important to think about, especially with our Transit Plus service, is that sometimes we are the only friendly face an older adult might see that day, especially in our rural communities or for folks who are homebound. We are your transit staff. Voice activated. See, I'm talking and it's not talking back. Can I use that microphone? Would you be comfortable with that one?
Actually, that microphone is only for people in this room. You're talking about it.
Yeah.
Is everyone comfortable if I speak into the microphone on the podium? My hesitation is that this will keep cutting out.
You should tell the people who are virtual to go on speaker mode, not gallery mode.
Okay, folks, if you are virtual, I encourage you to go onto speaker mode rather than gallery mode, so you'll be able to hear and see a little bit more easily. All right, we are going to go to the next slide. So a few of our driving principles at Transit Services of Frederick County. Our goal is to deliver a reliable and convenient service no matter where your trip takes you in the county. We are here to build a safe and resilient transit environment, paying close attention to goals of long-standing plans like Livable Frederick and the Maryland Transportation Plan. We are here to re-envision the customer experience. Gone are the days where you wait for a bus and hope it shows up. We are here to make sure that you have access, you know how to ride the bus with ease and confidence, and that your waiting experience is a comfortable and dignified one. And finally, we are here to invest in our people in our community. We are building beyond the bus. Do you want me to use the microphone again? We can give it a try. I know. Yeah, I feel like this will do the very best we can with the materials we have, but I am noting that it's cutting out again.
Voice activated.
I'll have to bring my own next time, clearly. All right, go ahead for the next slide. So before we get started, I wanted to work with everyone on a little bit of transit myth busting. Do you feel comfortable participating with me? I love the energy in the room, and I can feel it online. Hi, guys. All right, let's go ahead to the next slide. True or false? I can't take transit. I hear a lot of false. Wonderful. Next slide. Other way. It's okay, this is an intimidating question. 2 slides. No, other way.
Yeah, the other way.
We're rolling the wrong way, Mr. Allen. Yeah,
Yes.
there we go. Oh, go back. Nope, one back. No, all right. Transit is for everyone. Transit is reliable, transit is accessible, and transit is convenient. And if you are coming to transit as a new rider, for someone who may have driven your whole life or may have lived in a different place where transit looked or was different, we are here to make sure that you're comfortable using the system, and we're here to show you how it can work for you. All right, next slide. Myth number 2, transit is too tough to figure out. True or false?
You're going to say false.
All right, let's find out. What do we got? Yep. Transit is easy to learn and even easier to use. We have a lot of resources to help, whether it's staff like me, whether it's bus stop signage and information, whether it's printed materials on board or at bus stops, whether it's internet tools that you can use from your smartphone or from your desktop. We have a lot of resources available, and we have them in a format that will work for you. I promise I'm talking, still talking, still talking. I'm just gonna hold my hand on it. All right, next slide, please. Myth number 3, transit is too expensive. Isn't it? Isn't it free? Go to the next slide for me, let's find out. Transit is free to use.
Current.
Did you guys know that? Transit has been free since March of 2020. We are here on 4 years of operating without charging a fare. And my apologies for the folks online. If you do hear the microphone cutting out, I am doing my very best.
So they have no problem.
Okay,
Okay.
understood. I know that it's getting quieter and louder as I speak, so forgive me. Let's go to the next slide. Myth number 4, I don't qualify for paratransit.
False. Is there an age limitation?
Let's find out. Go to the next slide. Transit Plus is available for people who are 60 years or older or people with disabilities. So I don't think anyone in this room qualifies, but we can always check. I've used that joke a couple different times today, and I feel like each place it lands differently, so thank you for humoring me. All right.
Next slide.
Yes, please. Oh, you gotta go back. 1. You're rolling too quick. Let's use the arrows and see if that helps. Fantastic. Myth number 5, transit only operates in downtown Frederick.
False.
That's false. Let's find out where it operates. Let's go to the next slide. Transit operates to Point of Rocks. It goes to Brunswick and Jefferson. It goes to Emmitsburg and Thurmont. It comes up here. It goes to Spring Ridge. It goes all over the place. Let's learn a little bit more. So now that that's out of the way, let's go to the next slide. So between the mouse and the microphone, we are having an entertaining night. So luckily I have some really great dad jokes. There's a guy who works with us named David, and he lost his ID. So now he's just Dave. I'm here all week. All right, let's talk a little bit about who we serve here in Frederick County. Connectors serve the urbanized area, which comprises the city of Frederick, including up here, Walkersville, and select portions of Frederick County like Ballinger Creek. I'm doing the best I can. Urban shuttles serve places like Warman's Mill, Deerbot, and Schifferstadt. East Frederick serves over to the MVA and Spring Ridge, and the Route 85 shuttle operates up and down the Route 85 corridor. So to a lot of businesses, especially those who employ third shift workers and have warehouse type jobs. We have rural shuttles as well, so you can take a transit bus for free all the way to Brunswick or Jefferson, Emmitsburg or Thurmont, or you can catch a train at Point of Rocks, taking one of our buses there. And our paratransit service, or Transit Plus, serves countywide from the PA border to the VA border. Go ahead to the next slide. So this is an image of one of our maps, and I put this in here to share that while maps are a great resource, sometimes they can be difficult to read or understand if you're not familiar with how a transit map looks or with how to ride transit to begin with. So I want to talk to you a little bit tonight about some of the resources available and how to learn more about comfortably and safely riding the bus. All right, next slide. Did the mayor have this much trouble or is it just me?
It's 3 trips sometimes. We can go.
No worries. So I put up some information on ridership trends just to paint a picture in your mind. During the pandemic, when we asked everyone to stay home unless they had essential travel, we saw our ridership dip down pretty low. Look in FY21. We had about 420,000 trips that year. Now, this year alone, we've already surpassed FY22 in almost all of our categories. What we're seeing is that people in the county are using transit more frequently, whether they're hopping on and off one of our connector buses, whether they're commuting in from the rural areas using one of our rural shuttles, or whether they're using Transit Plus for critical and essential trips like dialysis, which is something that we provide. So we are on track in FY24 to reach almost 850,000 trips. This is the biggest year we've seen since FY15. This is a big change. Much of this has to do with the fact that we're fare free. It does make a difference. But what we're also seeing is that People with small children who would have to pay for each fare are riding. Older adults who are on fixed incomes are traveling on board the bus. And people who would typically walk a few blocks are hopping on board, getting a ride, and then heading off to wherever they need to go. This is one of the ways that we're committed to ensuring better access here in Frederick County. If we have the ability to do it, we certainly will. And before you ask, because I know someone will, how is transit fare free? Transit is receiving federal funding as part of the COVID pandemic funding package. So this allows us to cover the cost of fares, and we've done so successfully for 4 years so far. And we anticipate continuing for as long as federal funding is available. After which we will work with the county executive and the county council to determine how to cover those fares moving forward. All right, next slide, please. So I wanted, oh, you are rolling through a whole bunch of stuff. I wanted to talk a little bit more about Transit Plus. I know we have a lot of information here about some of the fixed routes that travel through the neighborhood. So nearby, we have the North Frederick Shuttle, which we just changed in January, and it now has Saturday service. And this can bring you directly over to Wegmans, Walmart, or downtown. But I know that sometimes people want to know more about Transit Plus. It's our specific curb-to-curb transportation service, again, for people 60 years or older, or people with disabilities. And this can be a permanent disability that prevents you from comfortably using the fixed route system, or it can even be a temporary disability. I'm going to have you go ahead and click cancel for me, please. No, I want you to press cancel, please. And I'm going to have you go back one slide. All right, so Transit Plus is our curb-to-curb demand response service. What this means is that you have to be registered in advance and you call in or go online to book a trip. This allows us to build a schedule and get you to and from with relative ease. Is this driving you guys crazy, or is it just me? Can you hear it on and off? Or am I just attuned to it?
We can hear you.
Okay. I'll take questions at the end if that's
No,
okay.
we can hear you without the mic.
Okay, there's someone behind you who is asking a question.
About 4 inches or less.
And I tried this before and it kept turning off, so let me know if it turns off again. Okay, so see, for example, talking now and it's gonna pick on and off. Okay, so Transit Plus operates Mondays through Fridays from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And it allows you to book a trip in advance as long as you're registered. Nothing. Okay, awesome. Passengers are picked up wherever they'd like to be, whether it's your home, it's your community center, or it's a friend or neighbor's house, the grocery store. You just advise us when you're booking your trip, where your start, your origin, and your destination will be, and we can help build a trip into our itinerary. Now, do you guys know how many people are in Frederick County? All right, so the 2020 census had Frederick County's population at 270,000. Since it's 2024, the population projections as provided by the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments, as well as Frederick County Division of Planning and Permitting, put the numbers somewhere around 290,000 people. Do you think transit has enough drivers to serve 290,000 people?
60.
Oh gosh, well, here's the thing. Frederick County is the fastest aging community in the state. So our population of 60 or older is growing faster than any other county in the state, and expected 4 times. So this is something to keep in mind, because there will be a lot greater demand for resources moving forward. If we are already operating at or above capacity now, imagine what happens as the county continues to grow. So I'm going to have you go ahead to the next slide. So there are 3 steps to using Transit Plus, and it's as simple as can be. Eligible residents of Frederick County can start using Transit Plus by registering, by scheduling their ride, and then by riding. And again, how much does it cost to ride? It's free. Isn't that great? So what does it look like to register? We have brochures over there that outline the process, but applications are short and simple. They ask you to certify if you're eligible on the basis of disability or on age. Either way, you need a photo ID to just let us know that you are you so we can get you into the system, and then we can start booking and scheduling trips. All right, next slide, please. So there are a couple ways to access an application for Transit Plus. You can request an application by calling us, emailing us, or going online and downloading one for yourself if you're comfortable doing that. We can get this back through mail, through email, or through fax. And I don't know how to use the fax machine, so I will be clear with you guys on that. Someone in the office does. Don't worry, it's just not me. So people 60 and older, like we said, need to provide a copy of their photo ID with the application. And applicants with a disability must provide a doctor or caseworker's note or a signature on the end. So our goal is to not require extra steps for you. We understand transportation is a really critical need, and it's a determinant of health here in Frederick County. Oh, okay, we'll go to the next slide. That's not a problem. So how to schedule a trip? Nope, go back. You had advanced it by accident. That's not a problem. So you can call up to 10 days in advance and book a trip by calling us. If you're comfortable using the online client portal, you can do that as well. So we give you a few options here, and you can schedule your return trip as the same time as your pickup. And passengers are given a 20 to 30 minute pickup and drop off window, which allows us to provide space in our schedule for drivers to get to and from, and a little bit of wiggle room in the instance that we have to secure a wheelchair or mobility device, or someone needs to take a bit longer to get themselves settled. So we do have a little bit of a window that we can pick you up and drop you off within. And an important note is that passenger trips are coordinated. So it's not just Jamie getting a ride by Jamie's self. Usually there's someone else on board with you who's getting picked up or dropped off nearby. All right, let's go to the next slide. And simple as that, once you're registered, you can go ahead and start booking your trips and riding for free. And a note is, if you want to have someone come with you as a personal care attendant, again, they can join us. Let us know during your application and we can put their information in with your profile. So I can bring Mickey Mouse if they are my personal care attendant, and they can join with me whenever I ride. This is especially helpful for couples or for folks who are acting as caregivers. All right, next slide. I want to talk a little bit about the Taxi Access Program, which provides another option for Frederick County residents. So the Taxi Access Program is for registered Transit Plus users who have either scheduled or attempted to schedule a trip, 3 trips over the course of 1 month. So if you are actively using our service, this allows you to get access to our Taxi Access Program as well. You get automatically signed up, and you get an allotment of taxi funds monthly based on where you live. So folks who live closer into the city can pay $10 a month and get up to $60 of taxi fare that the county subsidizes. And this helps because if you notice, Transit Plus doesn't run late nights or on weekends. If you live a little bit further out, we can ask you to pay $20 a month as your buy-in, and we'll give you up to $140. So that allows you a little extra ability to travel on your schedule. Taxi companies here in the county are available 24/7, 365, whereas transit has more limited hours. And finally, the way that this is activated when you book a taxi trip is that you scan a card that we send you, and that's how the taxi company knows how much to charge and what to request reimbursement from for transit. Go to the next slide. All right, so there are a couple steps to scheduling a taxi. And remember, you need to be an active and registered Transit Plus user before you're eligible for the Taxi Access Program. So you'll call a participating taxi. You'll get the taxi to where you are and show them your tap card, and they'll swipe the card at the end, which processes your fare. There are 3 taxi companies here in the county that we participate with. All right, next slide. Fantastic. So each month, Transit sends out information to eligible Transit Plus users to alert them that taxi access is now an option for them. And what this will require is just a photo ID and a picture that we can put onto your taxi access card. Because if Mickey Mouse is traveling with me, I need to use my own card. You can bring other people with you. It's $1.50 per passenger in the cab. So you do have that additional option. And there is a company that manages this whole thing for us. So it's a little bit easier and more streamlined. You can pay by check or money order. If you want to load any more taxi fare, this is another option. Say that you're traveling a lot in April, but you might not be traveling a lot in March. It gives you that flexibility. All right, go right ahead. So a little bit of details on how much the user for taxi access pays and how much the county pays to cover the rest of your fare. So folks, what's our zip code up here? What's the zip code up here? Perfect, 21701. You as a taxi access user would pay $10 a month, and the county would put in $50 towards your taxi access. So at the end of the month, you have $60 to use however you see fit for your taxi access program. If you live a little bit farther out, we increase it because it can be more difficult to get a taxi to some parts of the county. We also understand that taxi trips are a little more expensive if you're coming from Emmitsburg or Thurmont, for example. So you can store up to 3 months of taxi funds on this reloadable card. You can pay in smaller increments to allow for flexibility. So if paying $20, for example, for our folks who live a little further out is too expensive, then we can allow them to pay $5 at a time. Because we understand that sometimes things happen and we need to make this available to as many people as possible. A final note is that if you want to tip your driver, which is always good practice, tips must be in cash and the tap card cannot be used for tips. All right. Next slide for me. So last but not least is a really important program that emerged out of the independent living movement in the 70s and 80s. And it encourages people to learn how to ride the bus with ease and independence, especially folks who have driven their whole lives or have lived in places where transit is not available or accessible. So we have a program called Travel Training, which is free to use, and a member of the staff will join you and take a transit trip with you. We'll show you how to get on the bus, how to wait at a bus stop comfortably, how to read a bus schedule or use Google Maps if you'd prefer, and getting a sense of what to do if your trip doesn't work out. So for example, say if I was coming up here tonight and I needed the North Frederick shuttle, but I went to Emmitsburg by accident. Would you know what to do in that case? We can help you work through any potential what ifs so that when you do go out and ride by yourself, you feel prepared and comfortable. This is a program that we've used with a lot of older adults, people with disabilities, school students, and people new to both Frederick County and to Maryland to get them comfortable so that when they're out there, they're more successful. All right, go ahead to the next slide. So a little bit about what we do beyond the bus, because we do have a significant amount of work here in the county and across the state. We are here to engage with rural and underserved communities. How often have you looked at a government website and not understood a thing it says, or been really challenged to find the information you need? Our goal is to pull back the curtain and share what we do and provide additional information in language and in formats that people can better understand. It can be really challenging when we use formal government language on everything, so our goal is to make it simple and keep it clear. We are working together with agencies, municipalities, and organizations across the county, and over the last few years, we have gone to hundreds of presentations and outreach events There are a lot of places that our bus travels that people don't even think about. We want to make sure that they know that we are here to serve them. We've talked a bit about travel training and ride along, and we also have a rideshare program here in the county, which is federal CMAQ funding, congestion mitigation and air quality, where we help set up ride sharing, carpooling, and van pooling as well. So this is an opportunity for folks who are commuting out of the county to reduce their emissions and work together on things like ride shares and van pools. So the next few slides are just going to be some images of what we've done, if you want to go ahead. One of our projects has been to improve bus stops countywide. So you'll see some before and after pictures of some pretty lousy bus stops that we've been able to improve by working together. For example, this one located in Walkersville, outside of our Frederick County Public Schools facility. Go ahead to the next slide. We've also improved our existing bus shelters by replacing the Lexan panels, cleaning them up, repainting them, improving the path of travel nearby, and, next slide, working with organizations like Fort Detrick to adopt our bus stops and shelters. This allows us more eyes on the street. We have over 400 bus stops here in Frederick County, and the ability to have groups tell us when things need to be cleaned or repaired is really beneficial. These guys also do an excellent job in picking up trash and keeping the grass near the bus shelter clean and trim. Next slide, please. We also worked with the municipal airport to install a more comfortable place for passengers to wait, whether they were watching the planes take off and land or they were going over to the Airways Inn. Next slide. We've worked in places like Thurmont to expand our rural transit service, including, for the first time ever, expanding transit to Saturday service for these rural communities. Next slide. We've also worked together to make sure that the way you get to and from a transit stop is safe and accessible. So we have partners at Frederick County Department of Public Works, City of Frederick Department of Public Works, and at State Highway, who are helping us make sure that if you have to walk to or from, which everyone will have to do at some point in their trip, that the path is safe. Next slide, please. We've also built new stops in new formats. This is next to the Bachman's Lane bike lane. Next slide. And we've made sure that our stops are accessible. Transit was able to relocate the bus stop and pour an accessible sidewalk so that passengers and residents of Brunswick House Apartments had the ability to get to and from safely. Next slide. We've worked with elected officials countywide to build coalitions and generate support for transit. Next slide. And if you have any questions, I am here to help, but so is the rest of our team, whether it's a bus driver, a dispatcher, an operations supervisor, or any of our administrative staff. We are here to help support and answer your questions as you learn to ride the bus comfortably. So I hope to see you on board. Thank you everyone for your attention, and I'm happy to take both digital and in-person questions.
Yes. And are there any questions?
I have one. Now, in order to ride the bus with the Euro or the regular North Frederick shuttle, you have to sign up in advance for that, or you just step on the bus when you leave.
So for the North Frederick shuttle, this is one of our regular fixed route buses, so you can pick it up at any signed bus stop. The closest one is at Village Square. We do the best we can. We try not to put stops too close together because if we stop at every block, it slows down the trip and makes it challenging to keep it on schedule. So here in Warman's Mill, we have a handful of stops, and a driver can allow for a courtesy stop if it's safe to do so. So if you're on board the bus and you need to get off at a safe intersection, perhaps one that has both a crosswalk and a stop sign, allowing you to get down off the bus safely, that's something that they can do on the shuttles. You also have River Run at Waterside Way over by the pizza place. And while the two Mill Pond shelters are on the other side of Monocacy Boulevard, those are also, for our planning purposes, considered to be Warman's Mill area.
Would you move into Mill Island?
Would I move into? I don't know. It depends how much the houses cost.
Well, they're expensive, but
They
we're
certainly-
expensive in there.
I don't anticipate, no, sir. So when we think about planning for fixed route transit like the North Frederick shuttle, what we do is examine a number of demographics, including in certain places, whether people have vehicles, if they're employed, if there are schools or hospitals or grocery stores nearby. Those are called trip generators. Typically, we don't see high demand in this area for fixed route transit, but we do see a lot of demand for paratransit. So we do provide a significant number of trips here using our Transit Plus service.
People who are virtual. Questions in the chat, maybe they don't feel comfortable using the chat. Perhaps they could be more. Okay. Yeah. There's a little bit of time, 3 minutes left.
I have a few minutes left. My voice is starting to go as well as the microphone, so. And remember, folks, if you think of a question after the presentation has concluded, or for folks online who may not be comfortable using the chat, you can always reach out to Transit. There are a number of ways to contact us, whether by phone, email, or social media, whatever works best for you, and we'd be happy to answer those questions.
It's a question about urban. We have the chat asking.
Okay, I'm happy to take the question in the back. Yes, ma'am.
Don Reynolds wants to know, what services do you provide in Urbana?
Okay, absolutely. So the question was, what services do we provide in Urbana? Remember again that Transit Plus travels across the county, and we have a number of Transit Plus users in Urbana, but also in Urbana are the Maryland Transit Administration commuter buses. And those travel during the peak hours. Those are the large, comfortable coach buses that have restrooms. These are operated by the Maryland Transit Administration, not by Frederick County. And these can get you to Montgomery County and Washington, D.C. They also can bring you to College Park over in Prince George's County. They are not free, no, sir. Those are operated by the state, and they do have a variable fare system, which you can find out more information about by visiting the Maryland Transit Administration's website, mta.maryland, spelled out, .gov. I do. So I brought some information on the 65 connector, which is the closest connector bus that operates in the vicinity with stops at Walmart. I brought information on the North Frederick shuttle, which stops over at Village Square. I brought information on Transit Plus as well as taxi access. And I brought a few flyers for Bike to Work Day, which is coming up on May 17th and is celebrated throughout the state with a little bit of an encouragement to hop on two wheels. Something to note is that every transit bus has a bicycle rack. So if you want to combine biking and transit, you can do so with no issue.
I've got a question.
Yes, ma'am.
If people are interested in that transit training,
Mhm.
how would they find out about that?
They can reach out to us through email or by phone, and we'd be happy to set up a time. We'd like to learn a little bit more about what their trip would look like and any questions they have, any mobility devices they'd like to bring with them so we can ensure space, especially on a Transit Plus vehicle, and just a little bit more information to help guide them along their way.
Maybe we should thank her. He has to go right now.
For folks online, if you are interested in learning more, all of the materials I brought tonight are available on the Frederick Transit website, which is Frederick County, all spelled out, md.gov/transit. Again, I thank you online. I thank everyone in the room for walking through this with me and my microphone friend. I really appreciate your time and energy tonight, and I hope to see you out there. Thank you. All right, I have turned the microphone off and it is resting here. Cool.
What's gonna happen with the federal funding?
Truthfully, I'm not sure. That is something I imagine we should request from our county executive as well as our county council members. Yeah, so we do have funding right now for a few more years. But it's certainly something that we remind people, if this is important to you, and if it's important to your community, someone you know is riding transit, whether it's your nurse, your barista, a colleague, a dialysis patient that might be your neighbor, someone is riding our bus. So we want to make sure that we provide as much access as possible.
Thanks again.
Thank you, everyone.
I have one question. When you said temporary, like, somebody's just broken their leg.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you would know that the person has a broken leg because they have, can't interact. So they would still need a note from their doctor in order to access the personal service.
A doctor, a caseworker, or someone else who can speak to your disability.
Okay.
That could be something like, physical therapist.
Okay.
Yep, our goal is to expand access wherever possible and not restrict it. Yes, ma'am, thank you.
That's really. What did I do? How are you? I wish we had more people. I'm sorry that we didn't have.
No, you had great questions and thank you all for joining. I really appreciate it.
I learned so much and I've been in for so much. I had no idea.
Did you have a car or were you driving? And that I think is a big piece. So for a lot of folks, they don't think about it until they need to.
I didn't know that years ago, when I lived in Mexico.
My students to get my voice to go down here.
And I got.
So you haven't seen him in a long time.
Access, the bus was in water. That's it. And now there's. Yeah.
If they're driving, it's gonna be driving. They don't think about it. And that might be a great option. It's in case you don't understand it. Oh my God, it's like another 90 years. I think I can think of those. Oh, it's so great. Thank you so much. Right, I think it's 2 months.
Yeah.
You saw that's what you did about Thank you to my talented colleagues for clicking and driving. I appreciate you very much. Thank you all so much for doing. Thank you for the invitation. Yes. Really appreciate it. And